Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome to today's Friday class. Today we're going to be talking about a female companion. And although female companions aren't talked about as much as the male companions, they're still a very big and good source of inspiration for us, and we can learn from them and their lessons. And one of the things about the female companion that we are going to be talking about today that's really interesting is how much faith she puts into her dua. She made dua when she was having the most difficult times of her life. And we think of dua as our last resource. After we've tried everything, we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us what we want, what we need, or what we're hoping for. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually taught us about the power of dua. And he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything. Not just after you've tried everything and you haven't gotten it yet, but right when you want it. And we also need to be constantly reminding ourselves to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with certainty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer our du'as. Because if we think of it like, oh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala probably isn't going to hear my dua, He isn't going to know, then you're not going to make dua with sincerity in a pure heart. But when you really are believing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to answer your dua, inshallah He will. And this sahabiya of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she's a very good example of someone who makes dua with certainty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to answer her no matter how difficult it is, and like to get up and to keep believing. And she was Hind Salamah, and she was one of the first people to enter Islam and live it and embrace it. And we're gonna highlight one moment of her life that was like it had a lot of dua in it, and dua really helped her during it. So when she and her husband embraced Islam, they were persecuted like the other Muslims in Mecca. So the persecution was so bad that they migrated to Al-Habasha. And when they made their migration, or as they were making their migration, they got news that the persecution was stopping in Mecca and that the situation was a lot better. So they went back. But when they went back, they found that the persecution was the same, and it was still a horrible environment for Muslims, and they were still being boycotted. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the Prophet and the companions, including Abu Salamah and Salamah, with a chance to make another migration. And they were gonna, of course, fulfill the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they were gonna migrate to the city of Medina. And so as they were making the migration and they were leaving the city, a group of people from Salamah's tribe, her family to be exact, came up to her and they said, no, you can't leave, you're one of us, you have to stay with us. And they were talking to her husband, and they asked her husband, where are you going? And he was like, I'm migrating to Medina. And they told him, you're a man, you don't need anyone to come with you, it's like she's staying with us. And then the family of Abu Salamah heard what was happening, and they went in and they said, oh no, if you're gonna keep her, Salamah, with you, then we're gonna keep the baby, because the baby is the son of Salamah. He's one of us, and we have to take him with us. So now Salamah is pulling her son from one side to keep her with her, and Abu Salamah's family is on the other side pulling the baby so they could take him to Medina with them. And they pulled so much that they actually ended up dislocating the shoulder of the baby. And Salamah said that from that day her family was broken into pieces. And Salamah narrates the story, and she says that her son was stripped away from her and he was injured, and her husband had to move to a different city in a different land. She couldn't see him anymore, and she was forced to be staying with her family that took her away from her son and her her son and her husband. And she says that every single day at the same time of Dhuhr, she would go out into the same place where she was with her son and her husband for the last time, and she would make dua so much, and she would make dua and cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and some narrations even say that this lasted for weeks. And so what happened is that one day a man went up to her and he saw her crying, and she said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered her dua that way, in a way she never would have imagined. This man took it upon himself to mediate between her family and her husband to get her son back. And how this happened by the power of dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala istajab her dua, and he listened to her, and then she was united with her family at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because she knew the power of dua.
أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ وَيَجْعَلُكُمْ خُلَفَاءَ الْأَرْضِ أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ.